I don't know how to say this nicely. You're just an idiot.
Who here knows who Beanie is? Just like a raise of hands.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, okay. So it looks like we're less than half. So this is good. This is the prime time for a scam redemption.
Again, do you really think he's been gone this whole time, or has been anon?
Oh, he for sure has a burner.
He has been anon
He's
until
been there the whole
yesterday.
time.
Beanie said, the one good piece of advice Beanie said in Spaces once, he was like, guys, you want some Twitter advice? You can have maximum, this is true, I remember him saying this, you can have 12 accounts on your phone for Twitter. Every time I tweet something, I log into my other 12 accounts and I like it on those 12. Right. And that's how I make sure all my stuff tweets.
That's just basic stuff.
Well, and the fact that he came back in a shillin' villain space. I mean, could it get any more proper than that?
Well, so it's...
What a comeback.
So in my mind, so a little context here, he was a relatively large ape and punk holder at one point. I mean, the Pixel vault of punks was 13 of his own punks, so he had 13 punks to put into a vault. And then as time went on, he was involved in various pump and dumps. A thread came out about him that exposed him to not just be an NFT scammer, but like a serial scammer down to he was selling stolen cable, in Canada. The source that blew up Beanie, NFT Ethics, turned out to be later not as creditable. But that's because they had such a hot Beanie thread. They wanted to keep going with more Beanie threads. So I feel like they were chasing the high. Yeah. But like he did admit to actually being a real scammer. He's admitted to committing scams.
Has he?
He has legally got in trouble by the Canadian government for selling illegal cable, and then he ratted out those customers. That has been verified.
Who cares? That's so dumb. Who cares if you're selling stolen cable before
are we talking
NFTs?
about he was hacking into Dish Network and then plugging a coax cable in and then getting premium channels?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what he did.
Okay.
That's where he started. That's the key.
Sounds like a lucrative business.
Well, apparently it wasn't that lucrative because he moved on to NFTs.
If that's what you've got to go on, that's just dumb. Whatever, stolen cable, who cares?
It's about when someone's exposed as a scammer and it's like, oh, I scammed NFTs, the money was good. And then someone else is like, you scammed NFTs, what did you do before? So I was selling snake oil.
You guys forget
Really
about
loud
Blue?
in
Like,
the back
come
of the
on,
room.
that's a scam. Blue was a fucking scam, dude.
Blue was a scam if you're, I don't know how to say this nicely, just weren't thinking. It's not a real scam.
Blue's a scam if you fell for the scam. That is not a good reason for saying something's not a scam.
Well, Blue was a free mint, right?
Blue was a free mint. It was a joke about loot. And the guys were just making fun of it. It's basically a bunch of sex toys around loot project, right? Like, of course this is not a serious thing. And he infamously said, I'm going to make this a part of everything I do in the future. And a bunch of people, not going to name names, jumped in hard behind that, which just feels dumb. I feel like that's kind of on you. That's not a scam. You're just an idiot.
BLOOT stands for Beanie Loot. So that's just, stupid in its own. Beanie also shilled all those like ape casino games onto us, and I bought every single one of those. And then, when he this was after he was already done Wolf Game, so he was all right, he's got some respect back, he's gonna do us very good this time. So he was you got to get the ape so it can deal your cards for you, and then you get more token, and then I bought the ape for 0.2.
Does that sound like it makes a lot of sense?
No, it doesn't. No. And I bought
but it was Beanie.
Why'd you do it?
But anyways, they're all okay, so we're gonna airdrop you these tokens, and it's gonna be worth money. And then they didn't airdrop the tokens, even though that was the easiest part for them, and it was not worth money in the beginning, like they said.
But
not like this.
A lot of this was just, NFTs really, and a lot of this is basically just kind of a new form of gambling, right? It's a new gambling game that we hadn't played yet. A lot of people were interested. A lot of people got way too enthusiastic about a lot of different things, and you just see that in the space. So I think a lot of the stuff around Beanie is just kind of misdirected at him. I feel like he was just part of the wave, and I don't think anything specifically he did was much different than anything a number of people did. He wasn't.
No, you cannot say
one thing he didn't do was sell what he was tweeting about on his followers. There's some other very notable figures in the space. Farouk,
yeah,
right, tweeting about how Cool Cats is going to be the next big thing, blah blah blah, while he's selling Cool Cats to people. Right? I mean, there's other stuff that other people did that is far worse than what he did.
Well, even Pranksy, you know what I mean? If we're really getting it.
Whoa, Pranksy is not a worse scammer than Beanie.
Pranksy is a way worse scammer.
Wait, than Beanie?
How?
Okay,
How?
Pranksy has been known because
Pranksy sold me my apes.
I was working for a project. It was a female project, and about 3 other projects had come to us after this happened, but Pranksy was sweeping floors with metadata, right? And so he was doing it off Rarity Sniffer or something else before the metadata came out. Well, if you guys remember, a lot of projects, their metadata changed and everyone was getting pissed off. It was like happening. It was a very common thing. Like, don't touch the metadata. It's not ready yet. Well, one of the projects I helped and worked on, our metadata changed, and we basically were threatened by Pranksy that if we didn't change it back to the ones that he had swept, that he was going to floor everything. And we were told by a couple other women projects that he had basically swept the floors and dropped them on purpose to make sure that they stay down. Pranksy can spend up to 20, 30 ETH if he wants to destroy a project. And like we're talking about with Shillin, his whole account got shadow banned and all these things. People were trying to sort of silence Shillin on things. So if you have the money, it's not always about making yourself better. Sometimes it's about lessening someone else's shine.
I think the point is that we all have to get used to individual responsibility, right? There aren't guardrails, there aren't caretakers. We're responsible for our own stuff, and we're not used to that. And I think a lot of people, when they got burned by it, just looked for someone to blame why they lost money and made dumb choices on. And I think Beanie was the kind of the poster boy for that, right? The thing is Blute was dumb. If you invested in that, that was a poor choice. That is entirely on you. And that was a poor choice, right? A lot of the other stuff was just bad choices. And you're looking at like, yeah, the responsibility's on you. And I don't think people are used to that, right? People are used to being protected. You're just not protected in the space. So learn, just get better, but don't blame other people on this.
This is the problem between what is something as a scam, and you're like, well, you fell for the scam. When is it predatory? Right? There's a point when you have a giant audience, a giant influence, you know where you're going, and you're saying Beanie will assert that he has more influence in a project. He will buy a certain floor and then say, hey, I talked to the founders. I heard that the green ones are going to be the best. I own the green ones. And then the green ones moon, and then he has the ability to sell them. It's predatory behavior. And if someone falls for it, you can't say like, hey, you're a dummy, you're falling for a scam.
But he's not notable for dumping on his followers.
But his friends are.
Because he's better at doing it.
But his friends are.
If I could.
His friends are all notable for dumping on his followers.
Well, so one thing, this behavior of sweeping the floor, that is not allowed with other securities. Like, we shit on the SEC for the regulation, but in many ways, they're trying to be, they're there for consumer protection. They're trying to be. Not every law is there just to harm us. There's some to help. And now in one case, we're in like the Wild West, right? We're in a case where, especially in the NFTs, the SEC is told that we're not allowed to regulate. So it encourages these charlatans, these people that are sweeping the floor. And I think that ultimately the law will catch up with them, but it requires these people to ultimately break it. And then, and then we have the parents come in and tell us how to use our toys.
So I was selling snake oil.